We're going to talk about some prepper stuff first, and then my mother will talk about some news items, right? One news item. Okay, so I want to talk about some prepper stuff. At any time, there could be any problem.
Hello.
Breakdown in society caused by natural disaster, terrorism, political unrest, economic collapse, you name it. There's a very long list of things that could go wrong. Many experts in economics and sociology, some of which are not even religious, are all forecasting the bankruptcy of the United States with anarchy and chaos, New Orleans style to follow, and the infrastructure disintegrates. That's not even Bible prophecy, people. So, you add on top of that the end times things in the Bible, and we're in a heap of trouble. And while we hope that we may always have the safety net of our current society, we would be wise to invest in the basic necessities and be ready for any disaster it indeed could happen. In fact, the experts are saying it will, and it's just a matter of time. So then the million-dollar question is, what can we do? Well, first, we are responsible to change the things that we can change proactively, such as knowing the issues, simply being awake, being vocal with our elected officials, voting for the best candidates, perhaps running for office ourselves if we're qualified, and helping to get the word out on important issues, whether participating in a group setting or simply talking to people that we know. So, we're here and we're talking about the issues, so we're miles ahead of all the people that are home watching primetime television, right? So you do what you can that way. But then secondly, we can prepare to navigate that which we cannot change, knowing that Bible prophecy indicates that there will be turbulent times ahead. So, in other words, we hope for the best, we prepare for the worst. Plan A and Plan B, right? Plan A is you go to work, you put away for retirement, thinking that everything will just go along fine. One day you'll retire and nothing will really change, right? And then the second, Plan B, you got to do both at the same time. Plan B is the worst. So what do we do? So Proverbs 6:7-8 says, "Go to the ant, you sluggard, and consider its ways and be wise. It has no commander, no overseer or ruler, yet it stores its provisions in summer and gathers its food at harvest." A couple generations ago, people put up things from their garden. Nowadays, very few people do that sort of thing. It used to be considered prudent to put away food for a rainy day, and now it's considered nutty. And you have, the show Doomsday Preppers making fun of the whole thing, and they take some of the wackiest people in the prepper community to highlight them to make sure that the rest of the population knows that it's stupid. But it's not stupid. The Mormons are big into that. They have to have, in their religion, if they're observant, they have to have a year's supply of food stored away for their entire family. It is a prudent thing. If you do that, you are not a hoarder. They try to make preppers look bad by calling them hoarders, and put all these things in a bad light. But it's prudent, it's wise, and it's wise to put away for a rainy day. So how do we prepare? Well, first, you just think about the very, very basic necessities as humans. We need air, water, shelter for temperature regulation, food, and then we have physical concerns and mental health concerns. So air, we don't think about the quality of our air, but in a worst-case scenario, will the air you breathe be safe? So there's a couple of items to consider. We talked last week about particle masks. And I like this kind because it sticks right to your face so that your eyes are protected but you can see. And also we talked last week about iodine tablets, because if the air is radioactive, this will decrease your risk of radiation sickness. So those are two things there that are related to your air quality that you might want to think about getting. Water. Potable water is non-negotiable. You need good, clean water, and it ranks only second to air. So items to consider would be a source of your water and water filtration. So will your source be a spring, stream, lake, a well with a hand pump, or a windmill pump? What type of filtration system will you use? A gravity water filtration system is the most practical choice because it doesn't need fuel, and I brought in last week that Berkey water filter. It's just gravity. Berkey is one brand, but there's a lot of good brands. Other than that, a non-electric distillation system, a still, is a sustainable filtration system, and even more sustainable than the Berkey filters, because the Berkey filters might last you for a couple of years and you can clean them and keep using them, but eventually the filters will wear out. So if you're in a sustained situation where you're going to need to keep making potable water, then you might want to consider a still, which there's different stills that are available that are non-electric, which means you can use any kind of heat source. You can build a wood fire and put a grate over it and put this distiller on it, and it filters it down into the tube, and then you can put your collector cup there. So you can use it on a stove. So you can use it, if you have electric or propane or whatever, any kind of heat source, but you can use it with wood as well. Also, do you know how to distill water from the air? Very simple way of getting fairly clean water. You take a plastic bag, and well, there's a couple different ways you can do it. There's the pit way that you dig a pit and collect it that way, but there's a really simple way. Now it takes a long time, so you might need like lots of plastic bags, but you just tie the plastic bag really, really tight around like a tree limb that has leaves on it or whatever, and when the sun comes out and goes in, that is going to pull the moisture out, and all that moisture is going to collect on the plastic bag. So you just distilled clean water from the air. Like dew. You've made dew. So, made dew. So then, you just pull your plastic bag down into a point and, and drain it all off. It's not going to be a lot, but it might make the difference between life and death, right? And there's you can ramp that up by putting dirty water in one area and distilling that. If there's not like leaves on the tree that you can pull the water out of, you can just get like lake water or something and put in there and distill that, so that the stuff that condenses is clean. Any way you can make water condense, and then you gather that condensed water, you are distilling water from the air. So plastic bags are really good for that. And then you can Google it, but there's ways that you can get a lot more than just what you would get wrapping it around a tree limb or whatever. On the internet you can find some ways. There's a pit method that you can use that's excellent as well. But it's worth finding, it's worth knowing. It's worth knowing these things. Years ago, more people knew that sort of thing, and like the Indians and stuff, they knew all this stuff, how to, well, actually the water sources were a lot cleaner when they were in charge. Shelter and temperature regulation is our next thing. You need to maintain your 98.6. We have a very, very delicate balance with our temperature, and anything below or above that kills you eventually. And we talked last week about how most hypothermia cases are during times when it's in the 50s. You think that people would freeze most to death when it's below freezing? No. Most people that die of hypothermia do so when the temperatures are in the 50s, because they get wet and they have no means to get dry. And they haven't planned to stay warm. Because if it's freezing outside, you plan to stay warm, and you take a coat and hat and gloves and scarf and all of that. But when it's in the 50s, you might leave the house and it's sunny and, not realizing, and you have on a cotton sweatshirt, and then it rains, and then you can't get wet, you can't get dry, and then you freeze to death. You don't freeze technically, you get hypothermia, and you need to regulate your temperature. So items to consider: a heating system that's not dependent upon electricity, that uses fuel that is readily available and easily stored. So what is best for your situation? Wood, coal, propane, kerosene, oil, pellets. What can you get readily and what can you store? What do you have to start a fire with? Butane lighters, matches, a magnesium stick. I brought my magnesium stick. How many people are not familiar with how to start a fire with magnesium stick? The magnesium stick is great because there it is. This is the magnesium stick. It's just a stick of magnesium. And you can drop it in a bucket of water and get it out and dry it off. It's fine. I mean, you don't even have to dry it off. It's magnesium, it's just a metal. So it doesn't matter if it gets wet. And then you just take any old knife, got my pen knife here, and see where it's been filed? You just file some shavings down like this. I already filed a bunch of the shavings, but you just file some shavings, and then, can you all see that I have shavings there? See the shavings of magnesium? Then, watch, I'm going to start a fire here, so we'll be careful.
Don't burn up your laptop.
I'm not. I have it on the false scrap is stoneware, right? So in theory, it won't catch on fire. So then you just take your knife, and you on this other side of the magnesium stick is where you strike it to get a spark.
Wow, that's too cool.
How about it?
You know, they used to make mag wheels that would catch on fire in races. The tires would blow out and the magnesium wheels on the dragsters. You'd have these big
That's
fires
cool.
on
That's
They quit
pretty
doing
cool.
Yeah.
that because magnesium was very light.
That
Where
took
do you
little or
get that
no
from? Where do you
effort.
get that?
Little or no
Yeah,
effort, yes.
yeah.
Walmart,
That's cool.
What, magnesium sticks they have them?
We're gonna
Walmart
get-
in
we're
the
gonna get
camping
one.
section,
Yeah.
Okay.
or Dick's Sporting Goods has them.
We're gonna get some.
This thing is like $7 or $8, and you know how long this will last you? I mean, this will last years. You know.
It's a great
So, I
investment.
mean, yeah, now I filed some filings before y'all got here, so I didn't have to scrape. But, I mean, it's really easy. So, there you go. There's a way a very sustainable way to start a fire. Got stuff all over the place here now. My goodness, I'm in a mess.
Did you ever see the scene in Castaway with Tom Hanks when he builds the fire? He's stranded, did you ever see the movie? He's stranded on an
Where
island.
he
Yeah, I
has
saw
the ball, he
And-
takes a
But I don't
face.
remember how he
Yeah.
did it.
He did it with
He
sticks.
got dry
just
moss
friction.
and stuff, and he took a stick and he kept
Yeah.
Yeah.
sawing.
friction.
And then when he threw that on the sticks and he had a fire, he was standing there and he was going, fire!
He was proud that he
They
figured
kinda
it
like he
out.
was a
Yeah.
big man.
Did
Little
something
band
for
with
the
it.
first time.
Remember that ball?
And he had an invisible
Yeah.
friend, Wilson.
Wilson.
Yeah.
You can do it with just friction, but that takes a long time.
Oh, yeah.
Magnesium sticks, I mean, it's there. It's
Oh, that's cool.
And you can even light damp wood. If your kindling is damp, it won't matter because magnesium is like 2,000 degrees when it lights or something, so it will even ignite. Is it 2,000 or 3,000 degrees? It will even light wet kindling. So it's magnesium stick. I love them. They're so cool.
Oh, yes, and he used an ice skate to knock out his tooth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You might want to keep an ice skate handy.
Yeah.
What is the most economical and longest lasting food to store? And I have my favorite here, dried beans, dried rice and other grains as well. You can eat them, you can sprout them, you can plant them for more food later. A pound of dried beans costs about $1. That's it, and it's 12 servings. So these things will be worth their weight in gold. You talk about a good bartering item right here, right? You can live a very long time on beans. You can cook them, you can sprout them in your kitchen and eat them as sprouts, very, very nutritious. You can make a wild grown, and this is me, a wild grown herbal tea and add beans and sprouts and make a very nutrient dense bean soup. That's what I would do. You know, you can go out and Grace Lefevre at Sonnenwald has her Weed Walk, and now there's a Weed Walk DVD that I have. I'll bring in and let you guys borrow it. I love Grace, and I've taken her Weed Walk like 4 times, and every time I do it, I just learn more because it's hard to remember all that. So I'm excited now that I got the DVD, and I'll just watch it until I know all these plants. But when you're there with her, you can actually pick the plant, you can taste the plant. She's like, "Yeah, this is wood sorrel. It tastes citrusy," and you can taste it, and it's really great. And then she does the green drink. She throws everything in her blender after she tells you what it is, adds little pineapple juice, and then we all drink it, and it's really good. But it's amazing what you can just walk out in your yard and pick and eat. Just grass, just plain grass. You can just go out and just, as long as it's clean, just snip off some grass, throw it in some water, make tea out of the grass. It's, that it's a lot, it's so good. So, I mean, you can make soup with that sort of thing, throw in your grasses and stuff, throw in some beans after you've soaked them, throw in some sprouted beans, and you can live a very, very long time on beans and grass.
If people can stand you.
Anything, if you sprout them, they won't be as gassy. But, and think about, anything that a horse eats, you can eat, like alfalfa and things like that. Make herbal tea out of that stuff. And even, don't wait until, it hits the fan. You can do this stuff now, and you should learn to. And also, those things are very good for you anyway. So that was, if you put away nothing else, put away beans. Have a year's worth of beans. You'll be glad you did. Goal, to put away enough beans to feed each person in your household for at least one meal a day for 1 year. That's a good goal to have. Physical health concerns. Take care of everything you can now while you can. Visit the dentist, get those small cavities filled, glue your teeth back on. Get that updated eyeglass prescription filled, have a second pair of eyeglasses on hand, not a bad idea. Don't put off that minor surgery need, do it now. What medications would you need to stock up on and how can you accomplish this? What lifestyle choices can you make now in order to become extremely healthy so that perhaps you don't need certain medications? Most disease can be cured in 3 weeks with a raw vegan diet. Don't forget to stock up on first aid supplies, common over-the-counter remedies, and toiletries such as toothpaste, deodorant, and toilet paper. And do you have a good winter coat? Do you have waterproof boots? And just start thinking about your physical health concerns. And then your mental health concerns. What comfort items that can be called necessities would you have a hard time living without? Most of us would have a hard time living without lighting. So we need candles, matches, flashlights with batteries, oil or propane lamps with fuel, and things like that. Think about what's easiest for you. I have that flashlight that I showed last week that you just shake it and then you can turn it on. If you shake it for a minute, it stays lit for 5 minutes. So, I mean, that would last for years and years and it doesn't need batteries. Reading materials, you got to stay sane. Games or puzzles, coffee, candy, or whatever other comfort foods that, you know, will calm you down if you start getting upset. Baby wipes, laundry tub, paper, pens, pencils, whatever things that you feel like might help you cope. So I wouldn't want to try to live without blank. That varies from person to person. So take the time in the next day or so to think about how ready you are for a disaster or an interruption in the safety net of society and craft a doable plan to become more prepared. Because we don't know how long it's going to be. That is what I have for you
You
tonight.
have a DVD on weeds.
It's called The Weed Walk by Grace Lefevre of Sunnawald.